So for our next installment of the photo collage using our teachers' faces, we're going to do something where we focus in on pattern and repetition. And we're almost going to create almost like visual puzzles using these teachers' faces, okay? So in this case, it's a little different than the previous versions of this assignment, where in the other ones, we were building images on top of a teacher's face. In this one, we're going to make a selection, okay? We're going to make a single selection or two selections, and then we're going to repeat it by duplicating layers. And we're going to use the transform tool a lot, and we're going to also be doing a lot of merging of layers, okay? So let's take a look here. I've already done a couple things here with Mr. Rhodes' face. I created this sort of like it almost looks like a capital letter A, okay? And I've already gone and duplicated it twice. Now, how did I get this far? Let's back up a little bit, okay? So I'm going to go back to the background image. I used the polygon and lasso tool. I think that's a great tool for this project to get, you want to create sort of interesting shapes. Now, you certainly can work with the rectangle or the ellipse, and you could use the freehand lasso one as well. In this case, I just simply drew over Mr. Rhodes' face, kind of created this A shape and finished it. You want to get some of the interesting parts of the face here. So in this case, I kind of cut most of the eyes out, but I have the nose, I have the mouth, I have the middle part of the glasses, okay? I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this to a new layer. Oh, you know what? I wasn't on the background layer, so let's try that again. Copy and paste, okay? And now I can turn this off, and there we go. That's my new shape, okay? The next thing I did is I moved that over, and I want to see what I can do with that. So the first thing I do is I'm going to go ahead and right-click on the layer, or you can go up to the layers palette up here, and I'm going to duplicate that layer, all right, and pull it off, okay? So now we have two of them. What can I do with that? Well, because of this this angled line right here, I think it'd be kind of interesting to just line these two things up. So I'm going to go ahead and free transform. I'm going to rotate that just a little bit and get it so it lines up perfectly with the one that's next to it. And I can double click that and apply the transformation. I'm actually going to zoom in close to make sure that it is perfectly aligned as we can, okay? I'm using the glasses as my guide here. Now, I kind of like that. I could continue going around and create an arc like that, but if I do that, then it's going to spill off the page. So I might actually take these two layers. Now I'm going to merge two layers, okay? So I'm going to, this is the layer I have active right now. I'm going to go ahead and hold down the shift button and click on another layer. Now you see how they're both darkened like that? Now I'm going to go ahead and right click, all right, and go to merge layers, or I can go up to the layers palette and go scroll down to merge layers. All right, now what was two layers becomes one, and that's a really handy tool for us, okay? I actually am going to make this a little bit smaller. So I'm going to go to free transform. I'm going to hold down shift so that it keeps the height and width proportional. Let's see, how small do I want to get? Let's say I'm going to go right here. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to do it again. A lot of duplicating of layers here, okay? I'm going to pull that off, and then I'm going to edit, free transform that, and rotate that over. And if I want you guys to take time to make sure that this is lined up closely every single time. So I'm going to come in, play with this a little bit, zoom back out. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and hold down shift on those two layers, and I'm going to right click, duplicate layers again. Or I'm sorry, actually I'm going to undo that. I want to right click, merge layers, and then I'm going to duplicate it. Clicking the wrong things. Duplicate layer, Mr. McMurray. Thank you. All right. Edit, free transform. And I'm kind of getting this sort of circular thing going on here, which is kind of cool. All right. But I don't know if I'm going to stop at that. I don't know if that's the last thing. I don't know if I'm going to do that all the way around. So this is looking pretty good. Double click. I'm going to zoom in. There we go. And I think now I'm going to right click and merge those layers. Now I'm going to take a look at this thing. I like this. I actually think this is pretty interesting. Great pattern. It's not a basic shape, okay? I think the more kind of complex shapes you come up with, the more interesting this can become. I'm actually going to rotate the free transform and rotate this whole thing. And how do I want it to be? Maybe I want it to be vertical like this. I might stop and play with that. This is a project of a lot of play. I mean, if you just sort of do one simple thing, duplicate it a bunch, and call it a day and quit on it or stop on it, you're going to tell that it's not the most interesting thing in the world. So I'm going to turn on this background layer again. And I think right now I'm going to make another selection. So I'm going to turn this off. And maybe I'll do something with the mouth. You know what? I'm going to do something with the eyes because we missed a lot of the eyes. So maybe I'll kind of do this weird sort of Batman shaped symbol. And now I'm going to copy and paste. Oh, I'm on the background, so I'm going to copy and paste that. And there we go with that. And now I'm not even going to turn on the background, this other layer for the moment. I'm just going to play around with this and see what I can do with it, okay? So I'm going to first do a quick rotation on it, get it a little more straight. All right. Then I'm going to duplicate the layer. You're always going to the first thing you're going to do is duplicate the layer. I keep hitting duplicate info. I want to duplicate the layer. And I think with this one, I'm going to go ahead and go to Edit, Transform, Flip. Well, this thing's hiding here. I'm going to click off this. I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, Flip vertically. Then maybe I'll bring this down to someplace in here. Now, I kind of dig what's happening here, these upside down eyes next to each other. But what I don't like is this arrow point is coming down and it's cutting into the image that's here. So what I'm going to do with this one right here is I'm going to take my rectangle tool. I'm just going to make a selection across here like that. And I'm going to do a backspace and delete that. So what I did right there, I'm going to deselect now, is see how I just cut those points off of that one. And get this into some kind of thing like that. All right, I like that. So I'm going to shift. I'm going to hold down shift on those two layers, right click or go to layer, merge layers. All right. And then I have this as its own free independent thing. Now maybe I'll turn this back on again. Maybe I'll do this here, duplicate this layer. Maybe I'll duplicate it again. So I'm slowly coming up with an interesting new pattern, okay? Now, I do want to give you guys a chance to get working today. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer to this is. This is becoming a puzzle, and it's an interesting puzzle, and it's a fun puzzle, okay? And eventually, I'm going to fill this thing out with enough of these sort of puzzle pieces until it completes the image, all right? One thing I might do is I kind of like this a lot, so I'm going to duplicate this again. I'm going to flip it. Actually, I want to flip it vertically, so I'm going to Edit, Transform, Flip vertically. Ooh, and that's even kind of cool, just like that. One technique that I'm going to turn off this layer for a second. One technique that I kind of like is I'm going to create a new layer now. I'm going to take my paint bucket and I'm going to make that background black. All right, so look, so that looks really sharp with that black background, but it just made that other image, that other puzzle piece go away. It's because it's on top of it right here. So I'm going to take my layer and drag it back. And there we go. Now I can see it again. And I kind of like this. I might not be done with it, but I might save this. I'm going to save it as a PSD so that it preserves the layer. Okay. And maybe I might just turn these off, or I might just open up the image of Mr. Rhodes again. Or another teacher's face even. And I might just kind of do something else with it, okay? You're going to make two of these. Here's something I started with Mr. Geller, where I just used the rectangle select tool. And I went ahead and just selected half his head, okay? Copied and pasted that to a new layer. I'm not on the background layer. Copy and paste it to a new layer. Turn off his background layer for a second. There's my new piece. I transformed it, flipped it Well, that's fine, but I want to flip it vertically. I'm going to flip, actually, in this case, I want to transform it, rotate it 90 degrees. Okay. Maybe I'll move that up here like this. Maybe I'll do a free transform and scale it. Now I might duplicate this, pull it down. In this case, I think I'll rotate it 180 degrees. So I've kind of created these bookends of Mr. Geller's face that I then could take and fill in. I could maybe select an eye or the nose and fill in this interior space with something different, kind of like something new in a similar way that I did with this version of Mr. Rhodes, okay? Here's another one of Mr. Rhodes where I just did a real simple thing. I just used triangles, and I duplicated those a couple times, merged the layers, duplicated that, and rotated it so they were kind of crisscross, and gave it that black background. Okay, the black background is really nice because it makes this sort of float in this new space where we've taken the these little selections out of the background and created this new interesting sort of abstract space. Okay, so you're going to make two of these things. Okay, let's quickly look at. I want to quickly look at some examples that we looked at in from my previous last year's assignment. So here's the one with Mr. Messier, okay, where I just selected his eyes and I did it at sort of like a weird angle. And again, by flipping the image, turning around, I kind of got this weird pathway that goes through. Same thing where I created a black background, and that's pretty sharp, okay? Another one with Mr. Geller where I was using the rectangular select, and I just made little slices and copied them in different places, all right? And then let's see here. And then I talked about this one with myself. I made a selection using an arrow with the polygonal lasso tool, duplicated that 4 times and rotated around and had that on my face. And it looks like I flipped my mouth upside down twice too. So these are interesting solutions to this project, okay? I'm super excited to see what you guys do with it, all right? I will talk to you later.